What's going on, everybody? Welcome to another edition of the Cans Pats Talk Patriots podcast. I hope all y'all doing pretty good out there today. I'm joined, as I said earlier today, on my IG, on my socials, by Andrew Callahan of the Boston Herald and the Pats Interference Football Podcast. How you doing, man?
I'm doing well, Ken. That was a fire intro. I'm impressed, my man.
Yes, sir, man. Hey, man, big fan of yours, as I just told you pre-show. But hey, let's go ahead and hop right up in it, man. What is your take right now so far on the J.J. McCarthy hype that's going on with the Patriots? Is it legit?
It's a great question. I wish I had a hard answer for you. I think I lean on folks that I know are more connected within the league than I am. Daniel Jeremiah, Mike Giardi saying JJ McCarthy has a lot of fans within the NFL. And I try to balance that with this is silly season, right? Like this happens every single year. Things are thrown out there, misdirections, smoke screens for teams that are trying to leverage other teams into making a pick, or a decision that probably won't come out the way they want to. I just look and say it's hard to see a player like McCarthy who's widely been regarded as a player somewhere in probably the 15 to 30 range, right? Overall in this class, being taken with the top 3 pick. That's what we've known. That's what we said. To have this significant shift last second feels more smokescreen to me. But maybe the Patriots go, look, we like him as much as the top 3 guys. If we move back, we could take him. Or if we only like 3 out of the 4 and he's left at number 3, they go ahead. It seems like a leap to me.
If the Patriots were to draft J.J. McCarthy there at 3, how do you feel they would build a roster around him? Like, what type of wide receiver do you think they would look for him?
I think you definitely have to look at big receivers. Now, I think JJ McCarthy's not getting enough credit for how accurate he is, how athletic he is, and he's a whip smart guy. Someone, actually, a couple executives who spoke with him at the combine said he was as sharp as any kind of player. So I don't think he's limited in the type of offense that you want to run. But when you look at the receiving core they have now, I mean, Ken, how many slots do we got? Demario Douglas, Juju Smith-Schuster, Kendrick Bourne can play in there. KJ Osborne mostly played in the slot in Minnesota. So I think you're looking for, especially for a rookie quarterback, a guy you can throw the ball up to. And they wanted Devontae Parker to be that the last couple of years. He was too inconsistent, not a great locker room guy. So get some sort of big-bodied 6'3", 6'4" X receiver to balance out the rest of the roster and give JJ, Drake, Jaden, whoever it is, an option, third down in the red zone, put it up, and that guy will go get it.
Moving on, Jaden Daniels, he visited the Patriots the past couple of days, and we had Drake May visit late last week. Who do you think is the better fit for the Patriots? Me personally, I'm a Drake May fan. Met him at the airport in Indy. Went to the combine down there. Had a pretty good time down there. I looked at a lot of town and whatnot. I like Drake May. He's big. When you look at him, he kind of shaped like a Justin Herbert. He looks like Herbert to me. He plays kind of like Allen a little bit. I see a little bit of Herbert. He's like a mixture of Herbert and Allen. If you just put both of them in one, to me. But well-respected kid. I've heard a few connections with that the Patriots really liked him. He interviewed well with them. What's your take on? I mean, who you think is the better fit?
They did like their interview very much with Drake May. I can't confirm that. Good job by you. And for me, I think it's May. And again, I don't like when we kind of get this time of year into these binary this or that, either or, right or wrong conversations. I like Jane Daniels a lot. I just happen to love Drake May. And I think for what they need, a playmaker who's not just looking to run when he's running, but running to scramble or extend plays. That's Drake May. And the way I described him a couple of days ago, he's a timeless prospect. Big, strong, big arm, accurate, tough, decisive. I don't think either would be a bad pick at number 3. I just look at Drake May and go, for a guy who can create on his own, play in bad weather, shed tackles, like does everything he needs to. And Daniel's speed is electric, but you don't have as many concerns, I think, long-term if you develop in them. That's a big part here with Drake May. But he's my guy as well.
What's going on, Jamar? Appreciate you joining me, man. Also, if y'all just joined, make sure y'all like it on YouTube, hit that like button, thumbs up, and on Twitter, make sure you share the content out and IG as well. Appreciate that there, Andrew. That sounds about right to me. I like Drake. Did you see what Merrill Hart said about it? What'd you think about that?
Yeah, I did. I talked about it yesterday at TV. I think we're going to do the same thing tonight. And look, it happens, right? People disagree on prospects. I think at this point in the draft process, the comments, it's not even that people dissent, right, on Drake May, who's widely viewed as kind of a top 10 prospect, and the people who disagree get a platform. It's how extreme do you go, right? Like Merrill Hodge said, he will get you fired. That's it. If you put in this pick for Drake May, you might as well put in your pink slip at the same time. And that's extreme to me, right? Like if he goes to Minnesota, throwing to Justin Jefferson, TJ Hawkinson, working under Kevin O'Connell, good offensive line. That sounds like a perfect situation to me. New England, I think, will have to sit. But in neither situation should you just get fired. Now, again, people disagree. It's the draft. I think we should allow and be open to disagreement. He just went a bit further than I think anyone else has, and that's the reason it caught fire the way that it did.
With Jaden McDaniel's slight frame, do you think it would work with the Patriots? Because I hear a lot of people say he doesn't like to throw in the middle of the field, kind of struggles there. But based off highlights and some of the film that I seen on him, and I seen a lot of his throws, like every one of his throws the past couple of years. I seen him throw some lasers in the middle of the field. Now I don't think he got Drake May touch on the ball or like a John. He don't got like a strong going, but I don't think he's as bad as what people say.
Yeah, I think he can throw over the middle of the field. Would I call it a strength of his? No, in the way that you would still say for Drake, which that's a great point. There's a real importance on being able to put touch on throws, right? The high arcing lob balls to get it over a defender or to zip it in there, a line drive, kind of rifle the ball in. Drake May does both. You don't see as much of that with Jane Daniels, and his numbers over the middle of the field are not as good as Drake May's. Now, that's not the only place you're throwing, right? You can go deep to the sideline, short, the flat, whatever it might be. But for him, I like him a lot. I just like more what I see from Drake May, not only in that department, but overall. And the frame is a concern. Like 6'3", 210 pounds, frail quarterbacks now in a 17-game era for the NFL, soon to be 18-game in a couple of years, I believe. It's just tough to hold up like that.
What do you think would be a home run draft for the Patriots? I mean, if they like max out this draft, just a perfect draft from all the positional needs, and probably I think on defense they probably can show up a couple of things, probably like a safety, another pass rush. But let's just focus on mainly the offense and whatnot. What do you think? What would be your home run draft for the Patriots, and a realistic one?
Yeah, for sure. I appreciate the realistic part because we all want to dream. You all have the mock draft. Someone sent me one on Twitter that had Jane Daniels in there, Lam McConkey, and a starting offensive tackle. I'm like, this is witchcraft. I don't know what I'm looking at. But my thing is, it starts with Drake May, right? And I tried to manufacture all these different trades for them to get back into the end of the first round, and it really would just take them sacrificing most of their draft capital this year, or too much, in my opinion, next year. So I think they really either only move up a couple of spots from maybe 34 to 30. And in that instance, ideally, you have a player like Tyler Guyton at Oklahoma, an offensive tackle who played right tackle, but is athletic enough to move to the left side, I think mobile enough, or there are other players in that range. But I think you got to get the tackle first because there's such a significant drop-off in that group when you get to the second round. Whereas the receivers, man, we're just getting started. Like you could still have 5 or 6 receivers in the first round, but also that same number go in the second. And where I think is a better place to move up is from 68 into the 50s to grab a Troy Franklin, Ricky Pearsall out of Florida. Like you're not going to get an A.D. Mitchell, but you can find other guys who are difference makers in that range. So get the offensive tackle, trade up if you need to, maybe a couple of spots, and then make a bigger move from 68 to get one of the receivers that I mentioned.
A couple names to keep an eye on. I like Xavier Legette. I think he might be there day 2. I hope if Buffalo don't snag him at the end because they might have to get him there. Let's see. Jamari says, good point. This draft class wide receivers are sad. Yeah, I agree, Jamari. I like Brendan Rice on like a late day 2. And another guy, a lot of people not talk about Javon Baker out of UCF. I like him. I think he'd be a pretty good fit with the Patriots or whatnot. I really do.
Yeah, he came from Alabama. He got better every single year, even after transferring to UCF. He's a big play guy. I think there's some route running concerns there, maybe some concentration drops. But look, that's what coaching's for. You want guys who have the traits, the talent that you can't coach and kind of advance them that way. Now, you still have to have the right mindset, right? It's great that you have the tools, but do you know how to use them? Same with anyone who's got, toolbox in your shed. Like, it's great to buy everything, but unless you actually use it, what good is them? So for him, I think he's a good player in that range, and that's what we're talking about here, right? Take advantage of the depth of the receiver class, but make sure you get a guy. And Jordan Morgan is someone who's been thrown along a lot too. Offensive tackle out of Arizona in that 30 to 35, maybe 40 range. That's where I think you got to get a tackle, someone you can trust from day one, or think you can at least, because again, all the drafts a casino. These are bets, these are guesses, and you're just trying to hit as many times as you can.
We've been seeing some T. Higgins rumors. Do you think it's any truth to the rumors of T. Higgins possibly coming to the Patriots, or the Patriots probably giving up 34 and another pick to get him or whatnot?
I don't see it right now, but part of me says, the Bengals also will have to make a decision sooner rather than later, right? The beauty of the franchise tag for teams, certainly not for players, is that you apply that. There's no negotiation, right? Like you are on the team. You're being compensated as much if you don't show up for camp. There's no real recourse you have anymore because teams don't pay back all the fines that guys used to get in training camp for not showing up for 10 days. Get a new deal. We'll pay those back. So T. Higgins has to show up. He has to play for the Bengals so long as that tag is there. But if you're the Bengals, you'd rather do this ahead of the draft or during the draft to get a maximum return with a second round pick, maybe a first. And the Stephon Diggs trade is interesting. You know, they're not quite aligned in age, their caliber of player, their accolades, but Higgins is younger. I think could fetch something similar. The Patriots, though, will have to be prepared to pay him top dollar because he's looking for it. He deserves it. And it's really a question of, can he be a number one, which you'd be paying him like, opposite someone who's not Jamar Chase? And that's a tougher question I think people are not answering right now.
Good stuff there, Andrew, man. I really appreciate that. Last but not least, this is the one where everybody wants to hear it before I get you out there. What is your gut feeling on, based off what you hear and what you think may happen at number 3 for the Patriots in 2 weeks probably from tomorrow? What is your gut feeling on the pick at number 3 based off what you've been hearing and probably a little bit of what you think too? Player and I think we all know it'll probably be a quarterback, but what you think is going to happen there? If you had to bet on it today, pick today.
Yeah, I'm going to go with Drake May. I don't know if it's greater than 50% certainty, right? And it's not necessarily because of the McCarthy buzz or whether they'll trade back or maybe they like Jaden Daniels. Again, this is all, based on whatever Washington does, right? Like that's the big part at number 2. And there are a lot of hints about Jaden Daniels, some whispers about Drake May. I'm just going to stick with what we've all known, what we felt most secure about the last couple of months. Stick with the guy at North Carolina who, I think people like a little bit more in the media than inside the league.
That's where I'm at, North Carolina too.
No kidding. Yeah. And look, I just think he's a guy that fits in so many levels, where the Patriots need him, how they're going to treat him, sit him for a bit. He's got all the tools. He's a timeless prospect. So I think he'll be there. If he's not, though, I'm open to anything. McCarthy, Jaden Daniels, or trade back. But for now, if I had to make one guess, one bet, I would say Drake May is the pick at number 3.
Hey man, I hope you're right. Hope you're right, man. I met him in the airport, like I just said before the show. Real good guy. Hey man, Andrew, it's been a pleasure, man. I appreciate you taking time out your busy day as a patient reporter. I know you're real busy. Just taking time out to join me on the Kansas Pat Star Patriots podcast. Let everybody know where they can find you at. Yeah,
appreciate it. And thanks for all the kind words. I'm on Twitter or X, whatever you want to call it, @ Andrew Callahan. My last name is Callahan. The Pats, PATS, Interference Podcast, twice a week now. It's on YouTube, Spotify, Apple, wherever you get your podcasts. And then the BostonHerald.com for all the stories where you can find them just about every day.
Yes, sir. Make sure y'all give Andrew a follow. And also, if y'all going to check it out later on, or if you're still on right now, make sure you like the video, share the content, leave a comment, let you know what you think about Andrew's opinions on the Patriots draft and everything, man. Hey, appreciate it, man. I appreciate y'all joining me.
Not a problem.